Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Right to Know documentary series, where I inform my viewers about current global movements. I think we can all agree that climate change is one of the most important problems to be solved in today's world. Greta Thunberg thinks so too, but she refused to stay still. She's a 16-year-old girl from Sweden who started a movement called Fridays for Future, otherwise known as School Strike for Climate. In August of 2018, she spent every school day in front of the Swedish parliament for 3 weeks until the 2018 Swedish general election of September 9 to protest against the lack of action on the climate crisis. She announced on September 8th that she will continue to strike every Friday until Sweden aligns with the Paris Agreement. She protests with a sign that read School Strike for Climate in Sweden. This has inspired millions of students to do the same in their own countries. On March 15 of 2019, more than 1 million students gathered to strike for climate change action, and on May 24th of 2019, hundreds of thousands of students protested for the same reasons. Later in September, the Global Week for Future came, with two major strikes taking place on Friday, September 20th, with more than 4 million people protesting across the world, and Friday, September 27th, with over 2 million protesters globally. Greta still strikes every Friday. In Chía, Colombia, the Rochester School protested on March 15. The community and the school were inspired by Greta Thunberg's movement and wanted to join. I talked to Juan Pablo Aljure, president of the Rochester School, to know more about this action. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this interview with Juan Pablo Aljure, president of the Rochester School. We're going to ask him about why he decided to participate in Fridays for Future. First off, how are you, Juan Pablo? How are you doing?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your interest.
Sure thing.
Well, Fridays for Future was created by Greta from Sweden, and formalized by her, but the youth uh, kind of protests have been going around for some time now. But through the media and all that, and to us in Colombia, it's getting a while to get here. But the phase that we now know is Greta, and I thought that it was a very interesting way to say to the adults and to politicians mostly that new policies need to be in place.
Right.
And that youth and mostly school students, underaged school students, can go out and protest for the future. So I thought in a non-violent, peaceful way, and with sound knowledge about climate change, global warming, and natural cycles of Earth, I think that that's a movement that is promoting that knowledge, and I think that's very related to what schools need to be doing. So I was away for the 15th of March, which was going to be the first big protest in Colombia and in the world. So I was in Atlanta doing my second certification as a climate leader with Al Gore, and I couldn't come. So, and there I could see as well in Atlanta on the 15th, the students marching around and protesting and rallying around Atlanta, and it was also interesting to see it there. So I sent the idea to the people here, to Aletia, Jorge, and all that, to organize it in a simple way with buses that we could take some students to Chia, and with the parents' authorization, and that wouldn't count as a minor fault for not going to class.
Okay.
Because it's an important thing to do. It's part of the learning.
I agree, totally. Thank you for giving us that introduction to the topic. Now, um, I think you already answered this question. What is Fridays for Future? You said that it was a movement created by Greta Thunberg about students marching for the good of our climate, right?
Yeah.
What's your opinion on Greta Thunberg?
I think she started out with a great idea and with a sound, scientifically sound speech.
Mm-hmm.
Now she's sounding all the time, criticizing, complaining, threatening,
Yeah.
punishing adults, and mostly politicians and people in authoritative or authority positions. I think that's wrong. I think that's a quick fix that backfires,
Okay.
that comes back in a resisting consequence. I mean, the consequences that we could get from doing that all the time, as what she did at the UN, at the climate summit of the UN.
Yeah, she was very aggressive.
She was very aggressive and always criticizing. So you don't hear any proposals from her or her movement.
Okay.
None whatsoever. What do we do here at Rochester School? We plant trees, which is key for climate change, and adapting to natural climate change, even that, because climate change is natural. But what we're doing with the emissions is disrupting the cycle. We should be in a starting or already in a cooling cycle.
Okay.
But we're still warming. So, and that's anthropogenic. So it's man-made. And there's enough evidence. So we can do many things, from solar solutions for home, to planting trees, to driving the car in a special way so that we don't waste gas, to how to use the shower, the restroom, and should we wash our hands, how to recycle. I mean, many things that we can do.
Yeah.
Why is Fridays for Future not going that way if everybody's hearing now? So Greta and those students wanted to catch the attention of the adults. They have it now. They need to change the speech.
Okay. I totally agree with that. But I think Greta has given some solutions about the problem, even though she's been very aggressive lately. You also answered one of the other questions that I have for you, which was, what do you think mankind can do to preserve their environment? Now, I wanted to ask you, what inspired you to participate in this movement?
In Fridays for Future?
Yeah.
Well, that's what, I mean, I think education in schools should be all about what the world and what people need right now.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to what they would need in the future. Okay. But what about right now? So we should relate the curriculum at hand in the classes that we have to what's going on in the world right now. In the world meaning inside the campus of the school, around the campus, in Chía, Cajicá, Bogotá, Colombia, Cundinamarca, Colombia, North America, South America, Central, the hemisphere, the other hemisphere, North, South, the world, the solar system, the universe. I mean, we need to have a systemic approach to things and a useful approach as well. So if you're doing essays, if you're writing essays and learning how to write an essay in English or Spanish or French or Portuguese, how about writing about a topic that is related to the issues at hand,
Mm-hmm.
or something in the neighborhood that is going on, or the marches or the protests as today we're having from the workers near downtown of Bogota,
Yeah.
and all around Colombia. You know, those topics are the focus, should be the focus of schools. not learning English or Spanish for the sake of knowing it. So developing knowledge is useless. Using knowledge to solve problems, create solutions, create desired futures, connect well, be healthy, mentally, spiritually, physically. Those are ways to use the knowledge and should be the focus of a school.
Okay, I totally agree with that. And lastly, why should people care about Fridays for Future?
Well, I think mostly youth should care about, or would be good that they care about it by joining the marches on certain or specific dates in ways that they can grab and insist on grabbing the attention of authorities, and at the same time creating awareness of certain scientific facts that we know, that we have, and mostly proposing, creating the future that we need. So, for example, if there's a protest near the capital in Bogota, the Senate and House of Representatives, the Congress, it would be great to do that and have a plan on how to propose and when and what to propose about a new piece of legislation regarding renewable energy. Okay. Instead of protesting against fracking, which is important. I'm not saying it's not. But that's not the focus. The focus is not criticizing. Shouldn't be. The focus should be on creating the desired futures that are sustainable for all.
Okay, yeah.
And one way to do it is joining Fridays for Future, but I hope Fridays for Future goes in the proactive focus,
Okay.
aim. If not, it's going to die out. It's going to be seen as another bunch of young people complaining.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
No.
So instead of just complaining, they should give solutions to the problem.
Yes, creating awareness, I understand, but they could be organizing planting trees, a planting trees session in a certain place in that needs it. They could be organizing a conference, kind of a forum, not only for youth, but for others as well. They could be organizing forum sessions with legislators, maybe having some form of representation in Congress. I don't know, maybe we can talk to Iván Duque and his government. Many of, like the education secretary of Bogota is an alumnus from school, from Rochester. And some of the ministers and people in the government of Iván come from Rochester, and they understand the sustainability issues at hand. So we have some way to influence.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Juan Pablo.
Alrighty, man. Take care. Thank you.
Because of this movement, over 6 million people gathered to protest for the good of our planet. Even scientists from around the world joined. More than 3,400 scientists signed an open letter in support of the school strikes. This caused the creation of Scientists for Future, which is a group of scientists in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland in support of the strikes. The statement was signed by over 26,000 German-language scientists and scholars. The Club of Rome issued an official statement in support of Greta Thunberg and the strikes. The letter, titled "Concerns of Young Protesters Are Justified," published in Science, was signed by over 3,000 scientists. 1,000 healthcare professionals called for widespread non-violent civil disobedience in response to woefully inadequate government policies on the unfolding ecological emergency. They also supported the school strike movement. My generation has failed to respond properly to the dramatic challenge of climate change. This is deeply felt by young people. No wonder why they're angry, said the UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres on March 15 of 2019, embracing the strikers. Thank you, Greta Thunberg, for uniting the world to speak and to fight for the well-being of our planet. I invite you, the viewer, to participate in this movement by protesting on Fridays and by letting other people know about this, because they have the right to know.